We are back and I'm sitting with fabulous designers.
During 2020, there was a lot. COVID hit. I was basically assisting my mentor now, Roman Hunt, and he couldn't obviously keep me on his team because of COVID, downsizing and everything. So I just found myself without a job, and I was slightly hesitant and very petrified of going back into retail. So it was like, let's try and start, something for myself. And throughout the year, I sort of created pieces for myself. And in that, creating a collection, I was able to just document everything and enter, basically, SA Fashion Week's competitions.
I think the one thing that we also have to find within the South African or even African context is what luxury is. So we define ourselves as an African luxury brand, because you find that with luxury in a global sense, you spoke about it, where there's the value chain, there's the ownership of the value chain. We're fortunate enough that we do own our own value chain. However, with luxury is the bigger risk of stock items, raw material. So I would say for designers, young designers aspiring to be a luxury brand, it's the research, it's the deep research of understanding the country we live in. We also don't shortcut the process of luxury. So this from start to finish, we created here. Outside of maybe silk that would be imported, everything is within, because another big thing about luxury is contributing to the GDP.
Like you said, you've redefined what African fashion is. But you, Tebe Magugu, Rich Munisi, they've all sort of been able to stamp or sort of redefine a global perspective, or let's say, what is African fashion or what is African luxury, and I'm an incredible fan.
Well, you can tell your story in South Africa today, and it's in New York the next day. So I think the good news the good news about that is that we're no longer, when I was studying fashion many years ago, what we loved was you could be a designer and what you came up with was proudly South African. But today, if you see a fashion show in New York or in London or Milan, the next day, people know what's on the show. So fashion has become quite fast. They call it fast fashion because it's so. But the good thing is that you can actually meet people from all over the world.
Yeah, and collaborate.
So that's what I've loved about it, and that's what I'm excited to come back into.
Good.
I think fashion social media has actually been a huge part of it, because people really are buying into beautiful stories and beautiful clothing. And I think fantasy and having, expressing yourself through clothing, it just is growing bigger and bigger. And fashion as a way of expressing yourself and telling, your own story. I think individuals really are able to make their own choices with fashion now. What is also really exciting about fashion is the jobs that are being created now. I think the clothing industry is on the upturn, especially with manufacturing coming back here. Retailers are wanting to bring more manufacture locally. It's quicker for them. It's actually proving to be more advantageous.
But this is the end of the Raw and Real Conversations. Thank you so much for tuning in.